to Talks from the Essex Hotel with your hosts, Sarita Patel and Latham Woodward. The views expressed on this show are those of our guests and are not necessarily in line with our opinions, but can be. Please enjoy this program and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. Welcome back to Talks from the Essex Hotel. I'm Latham Woodward here with my co-host, as always, Sarita Patel. Say hi, Sarita.
Hello, Latham.
And today we have a great guest, Karen Dockstader, and her book, All About Balance. Welcome to the show, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's great. And make sure you stay up on that mic and speak as loudly as you can. We want to get all your sage wisdom on tape. Karen, Sarita, take it away.
Karen, you know how excited I am to have you here. I've been trying to have a conversation with you for years. But you've been pretty busy. And when I heard that your book came out, All About Balance, I just thought, okay, this is a perfect moment because we are in these times that people are just craving to know how to age well, how to take care of their health. You know, everything that we sort of learned from the past, we're finding out a lot of it is just not true. And we're really dealing with a health epidemic right now. So when your book came out, I was like, this is just perfect time. It's a blend of East and West principles and practices. And I really wanted to start off going, what propelled you into birthing this book?
Well, it's been a lifetime of preparation for birthing this book. The book is about balance, but within it is, just the years of my own practice, I don't really separate any of the things that I've done in the past from the work that I'm doing now, even though somebody might say, oh, you were in architecture, you did, green building, you did this. To me, it all flows seamlessly together. It was all an exploration of consciousness for me.
Yeah. Well, and I like that because we do flow through our life, right? Gathering nuggets. And what we do with those nuggets help us or, we discard them along the way. But I like what you said about the architecture because we've often talked about construction being construction is the foundation of how I look at almost everything because you have to build a solid foundation and it goes brick by brick by brick by brick until you have this beautiful home or building. And that's really how I look at the body. And so, as I went through your book, what I really liked is it was so simple and yet, I wanted to get your take on the simplicity and how you can translate that to anybody who might be listening. Because right now, out on the radio waves, there have to be, millions of channels of people trying to help people be in their best health. And there's this guru for that and that. But, I wanted to get your take on that.
Well, that's interesting what you're saying because, actually that is part of why I thought it was important to write this book because I feel like, as we've talked about before, things get a little compartmentalized and people have ideas about things. And we're each individuals. We have to find our own way. But there's all these tools. I mean, everywhere, not just, in every field. And from, ancient wisdom to modern wisdom, and we are bombarded. And, I was thinking about a class that I wanted to teach long ago, talking to a doctor about it, because, people are, oh, you should meditate, or you should do yoga, you should do Tai Chi for this, and you should do this, strength building. And my thought was, none of us really have time to take each of those things up separately as something. And the truth is they aren't separate. And that's why it's so important, so this book and the way I'm teaching classes right now with seniors is an integrative type of process. And I absolutely respect the teachings, traditional teachings of, say, a form of Qigong or a form of yoga, or people who really get into some form of fitness. But, and meditation, can go very deep with that. But for the general population, to be able to weave together and integrate that into a practice they can do just as together, as an integrated, harmonious practice that gives them, some of all of that is what this book was really about doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask a question too?
Yeah.
Because I'm all about the commercial here. Where can people find your book?
They can go to my website. And there's on the website, it's called insightwellnesscoaching.com. There's another domain, which is seniorsinbalance.com. And either of those will take them there. And on there, you'll see the book. There's also a video of a class that they can, download there.
We'll have you shout it out at the end. Are you on Amazon?
I am on Amazon. However, for some reason, I've heard in the last few days that a few people have had a hard time ordering from them. I don't know why. So it wasn't published by Amazon. That might be why.
All right. Yeah, we won't go down why.
Yeah, we won't do that.
But
we love our rabbit holes.
But I know you
here.
can get it from Barnes & Noble. Get it. Just go to my website and go to Barnes & Noble, and they'll send you a copy.
Super. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sarita.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, I mentioned Karen's book to a bunch of my friends who have apothecaries and have been doing their own form of more natural techniques along with medical, especially the women I know who are having children now. They're really, really focused on their own self-care and, raising their kids in a very different way than they may have been raised. And again, none of this is good or bad. It's just we're in this great time of transition. And again, that's why I love the blend of East-West, because, I'm Indian and I grew up in Chicago, and all of these practices were just a part of my parents' daily life. They didn't stop and do yoga. They didn't stop to meditate. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to draw the curtains closed because my classmates thought that what they were doing was weird. They were practicing yoga in the living room. And I just remember struggling with that, with what my parents were doing and what was known out in my world, and so I'm kind of a great balance. Like, I saw how a process and a practice flows like a river. You don't stop and observe it and measure it. It just becomes a part of who you are. And it's probably why both my parents lived so long, without any big health concerns. I just went off on tangent. Sorry about that.
No, but it goes to what we were talking about the other day was, about yoga in general, and the people who claim to be yogis or yoginis, that's a word you told me, and how it's a practice. They call it a practice because in the words of the aesthetics in India, you never really get there. You're always trying to attain. You're always learning. You're always going someplace. So when all these people say they have, they've attained enlightenment, I'm very doubtful. Speaking of your mom, she's in the
I hear my mom.
I hear her.
Yeah.
So anyway, getting back to practice and being like, there are two different things here.
Yeah.
They're the people who claim to be professionals in helping people, but really they're all about the money. Then there's the people who don't advertise the fact that they're a great yoga instructor, right? But they are. And
Well,
you know it. And they
yeah.
don't really make it part of their persona. They just are.
Right. And that's why I think I wanted to have Karen on here, because so we're in Marin County and we have the natural landscape every single day around here. And we have access to a lot of practices from all over the world. So we're a very privileged community,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? But we also live in a state that has all sorts of inequity. And, you know, what I like about what you're doing is it is just a part of daily life. There's a lot of people who can't afford to go sign up for these subscriptions at yoga places. And once you get in, and this is not dissing these places at all, it's just making a delineation of why these natural technologies that our bodies can actually participate in are not available to everyone. And that's what I think you're doing. You're really making it available to anyone, no, regardless of age.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to get back to one thing you said, which was about, you know, the practice. Because the practice is just acquiring certain tools or skills or things. You know, it's like helping you to imprint something that it's already there. You're just finding it in yourself. And the truth is that whether it's, you know, the ancient wisdom of the yogis or Qigong masters or really any tradition, you'll find the ultimate, what, you know, it's really not something that's about poses or practices. It's a state of mind. It's a state of being that then anything you do flows from that, and you're still in that state. So people could do anything. And, you know, when everything's in harmony, the breath, the mind, the heart, the body, you know, it's really about bringing everything into, you know, a state of harmony and flow, so that things are, you know,
Flowing
together. And
oh my God, did you hear that flow? That was my stomach talking. Sorry
You
about
should
that.
have had some breakfast, Sarita.
I did.
Okay.
I like to eat.
We'll move on. I'm glad you're comfortable with that, Sarita.
so yeah, so yeah, it's not about the practices. It's about finding that. And an example would be, you know, I had a student come up to me the other day, and she said, she had been gone for quite a while, actually. She was a regular in the class, and then I know she was gone. She sometimes traveled, so I figured maybe she was on a trip. But she came back and she said, I just wanted to tell you, I've been in the hospital. And while I was there, I said, everything I learned in this class, in my practices in yoga, it was just completely instrumental in my being able to handle this process and the healing of it. And she said, I would find myself, I would get up and I would walk the halls of the hospital, and I'd be doing, you know, I'd be breathing. And she said, normally I probably would have been very, very worried and just under stress the whole time, which of course we know what that does to the body. It doesn't help the body to heal. So her being able to find that peace was really, she said it was just absolutely instrumental in my healing. And, you know, that is the way it begins to, you know, grace your life when you really take it in. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Because, you know, I think the other thing is you wrote this book mostly because your students really wanted this information out. Is that correct?
Well, I would get a lot of questions,
Yeah.
and I had a lot of students asking for either more classes or, you know, some way to keep doing the practices more than just, I teach 2 times a week, this one particular class for seniors. And so there were a lot of questions there, but actually that book came also out of, you know, I wrote it with my mother, and she taught years ago, and I at the time was a practicing yoga therapist, and she used to teach Qigong forms mostly, but she also focused on balance as well. And so we wrote kind of a workbook together for her class. And I always felt like we could turn it into a more usable resource in some way. And it's not the same as what we did years ago because it's definitely evolved. But that was really the original source of this book.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing, it's so simple. Sometimes I just turn to pages and the visuals, just the simple pictures in here, they remind my mind just how to be in that pose. And it's not a pose that's a hard pose that you achieve. I can literally feel the energy moving again. And I love that you wrote this with your mother, because your mother's 93 now.
She is.
And how have you observed her in her aging?
Well, it's interesting because my mother and I really have very different makeup in our own bodies. Interestingly, I mean, we're genetically the same family, but she's incredibly strong. She always has. She sleeps really well. She's very, she's just one of those people that, is pretty solid. And she's very positive in her mindset in life. And so she hasn't really run into a lot of physical difficulties in her life. And she came to it because she had a lot of friends that did. And she would try to help her friends. And so she would, look at things from that perspective. For me, I actually had a lot of injuries in my body early on. I was a more sensitive to things kind of person. And so, and I had a very stressful job for a long time. And so, a lot of my approach was really from a healing perspective. I really just delved into the whole healing aspect. And for me, it was so important, this sense of listening to your own consciousness and body and figuring out what works for you. And that's kind of been, for me, there isn't a one size fits all. And a lot of times that's what you see, when you talk about it out there, because it's like, oh, you should do this or you should do that. And, I'm also trained as a board certified health coach, and that came from studying functional medicine. And that was for the purpose of helping my son when he was young with some health stuff he went through. But what I realized doing it is it was so almost everything that they recommended. And I'm not saying this in any way that this isn't a good program. It is. There's so much wisdom there. And that concept of kind of going a little deeper to find what's going on underneath, certain things is really important. But the main thing was about how, so many of those things wouldn't have worked for him. It wasn't, whenever they try to put it into a formula, it can kind of fall off the map. And so there isn't really a formula. There's only the awareness and the understanding and the more, I completely believe in science, the importance of that and testing and all those things. But then there's the consciousness, and they have to come together. You can't have one without the other. It's more like, it just helps you to, just like I said with the yoga, you have tools. You have tools, and the tools are there, but you have to find your way with those tools. Everyone has to find their own way with them.
Can I comment on this too? So I really, what you just said really resonated with me in terms of individual care. And my exposure through being in Europe a lot, in France in particular, is osteopaths are really your go-to physician. GPs are not. And it's very unusual for a French person to go to a GP first. They generally will go to an osteopath. And that is really tailored healthcare, because they're going to identify who you are, what you're doing. They look at your life, they look at your body, they look at everything and roll it in, and they design a healthcare plan for you. And then if it's really something bad, they're going to send you to a GP, which is so different from here. The approach here is formulaic. And I fell victim to that after a bad car crash where they just got me on, I've said it before on other podcasts, tons of drugs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were killing me. And I said to the doctor that I had at the time, you're killing me. I didn't have stomach problems before. Now I have stomach problems. Now you gave me something for my stomach. I didn't have these bad migraines. Now I have these bad migraines. You're giving me something for that. The pill you gave me for the migraines makes me feel like I'm going to die. And I said, you're putting me on a death spiral.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to get me on like Oxy. I'm like, what? No.
Well, and you were able to say no, right? Because intuitively, you are aware and in touch with your body enough to go down that path, but not stay on it too long.
Yeah, I knew I didn't feel like that before.
Right.
And maybe that has a lot to do with a lot of people are not self-aware enough to know what normal is.
Well, and that's why when
Maybe.
Karen talks about consciousness, these are all the tools that need to be working together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have kind of a funny story along those lines coming back to yoga because, we all see these things as very healing and all this. Well, I was in a yoga class. This was a time when I was in a, corporate job, working really hard, and it was a morning class. Very early, I was half awake before work, and I only took that particular class because it was right next to my house. The time was right. It wasn't really the resonant class for me, but it was the best I could do at the time, and I wanted something. So I'm in the class, and the teacher comes up, and it's like, trying to get me. I was doing a downward dog position, and my ankles were not all the way to the ground, and she wanted me to get my ankles to the ground because that's the form of yoga. Well, I tore the Achilles tendon.
Oh,
well, I didn't
God.
completely tear it, but I could feel it, tear a little. And I went out and played tennis the next day, and I completely ruptured my Achilles.
What a disaster.
But the funny thing is, that was a yoga class. I mean, that is the antithesis, and I knew better. That was really my fault because I knew that what she was doing was not resonating with me. I was like, that's not how yoga should be taught. It was, but it is about listening. Like, I knew better, but also that is a responsibility of a teacher to listen and not. It isn't about forms. It isn't about,
My experience with yoga is very minimal. Okay, Sarita knows this about me.
Latham and I have been having lots of conversations about yoga.
Yeah, so I have gone to yoga before, but I've experienced this same exact thing as like, you got to be in this form. And it's like, man, I'm just trying this out. Okay, I'm going to go my way. I'm going to do it my way. And they're just, some people, they don't accept that. It's like, why? What do you have to gain from me doing it your way? Honestly, I mean, I think they feel like they've got to teach the right form, right? And they're dedicated to it, but it's not for everybody.
Well, and you know what? One of the biggest things I see with students, like particularly when I work, well, I see it with students in a class. They want so bad to get things right, and I always have to remind them, wait a minute, that's not the goal here. We have to see what is the true goal. And so like for instance, or if I'm working one-on-one with someone, I know sometimes it's like they'll come and they say, okay, I want to improve this. And they're focused on that happening. Like that's their main thing. But when you really work with them for a while, you realize that their goal isn't that. Their goal is something much, much deeper than that. And it only, after working with them, it's like you work through that, and it's like, and sometimes that goal is keeping them from doing what they want to do because they're so focused on this external achievement that they're not actually sinking deep enough into themselves to feel from the inside, that.
No, I get it.
No, I mean, it's, we are so achievement oriented in all layers of life that it takes the time that you have been spending with your students who eventually are not your students, right? You don't want lifelong people following you. You want people taking this into their own lives, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, that's another reason, so Karen's husband is somebody that I worked with for many, many, many years in construction projects. And what I always noticed about him was just how he came with this presence to the projects. And our projects were changing every minute, every day, every hour. I mean, it was kind of like the Three Stooges every day. And he just had a way of leading and being so calm and coming up with solutions. And that's
Your husband is the real deal PM. He's the real deal because he's got a good, steady way about it.
yeah,
He has a good heart.
Yeah.
yeah, he does.
And he's growing all the time.
All the
He
time.
told me he's growing, which is amazing, especially, he's a man of a certain age and he has embraced growth, personal, physical, emotional growth. It's
Yeah, it's a never-ending
it's a
process.
tribute, to him and his steely resolve.
Well, and I remember he was telling me about your son's allergies back when he was little. So, kind of quietly, I've been following Karen's family for years because of my relationship with your husband, Covey. And so when he started to tell me about the work that you guys were doing with Sam, that's when I really said, okay, these guys got it. There's more of us who are thinking like this. And, I think the reason Covey and I were so successful together is because we each had our own flow that had a frequency together where we were able to lead bigger teams. But it goes back to you. I've been following you for many, many years, because of what he shared. And it really resonated with me because I went through things like fertility treatments. I was diagnosed with cancer. I had severe injuries at work. And I never looked at anything like a death sentence. I was like, I just need to tap into something that I need. And so everything just became this unbelievable, gift. Cancer was a gift for me.
Yeah. It is. It's like that. It's like if you use that as an opportunity to learn more about yourself and about connecting with, what matters, you just continually grow.
Yeah.
And when you talked about the aging process, to me, that's what it is. It's like, the growth just does not end that way. And you just keep on being curious and enjoying that process of opening up to, the depths of yourself.
Karen, I have a question for you. So you say you came out of an architectural career, design architecture?
Yeah.
And was there a trigger moment for all this? What was your trigger moment that got you into this journey?
With health?
Yes.
So that's an interesting question because it goes way, way back. It goes back to sort of who I am, the way I engage with life, because back when I was first curious about what I was going to do back in college, and when I was thinking about architecture, I really was thinking about how spaces affect people. It was the connection with the environment and spaces and why, you could have these really high-end projects and you'd walk in and it just felt kind of yucky.
You're discussing something I'm very fond of.
Yeah.
It's a subject I love because a true architect needs to embrace these principles.
Yeah, and then other times you'd go somewhere as this funky, no budget, anything, and this place was alive, And so you have to ask, what is it was really, for me, architecture began with how we interact with our environment, and then of course how we interact with each other. So, I went into architecture and I was doing almost the opposite about what I set out to do. And one day, flying back from seeing some project across the country, I was exhausted. I had a review the next day and I just had this incredible epiphany, I can't, it just came through me. It wasn't really something I had been thinking about, but I walked into my boss and I started writing. I got up at 5 a.m. I'd flown home at midnight and I was writing my review and it just came out of me. I want to do these I want to show how to do these projects more environmentally sustainable. And, I just had seen so much waste. And so I took that to him, and he looked at me and he said, "How did you know?" And I said, "Know what?" He's like, "Well, the company just hired a consultant for the whole company to look at being more sustainable." So one thing led to another, and I developed, just sort of organically on my own time, a project and got a bunch of people together to help with that. And, double bid the project, and then they ended up liking it and rolling it out to a lot of locations, and it started a whole career. But honestly, it was always about how we interact with our environment. And it just, after doing that job for probably 5 years, I really wanted to do an educational program, because I saw that what was happening is that, you take an organic thing like that, and suddenly it becomes sort of put into the same process by which it doesn't work, and so it really is, as we were talking about earlier, Sarita, it really is about, how you go about something and how you relate to it and how you relate to each other. That is the foundation for, how things get built that way. And so I ended up meeting Angeles Arian. I don't know if you know of her. She did a program called The Fourfold Way. She's not alive anymore, but she did incredible work. And so I did her 3-year program, and I just from there, it was just one amazing teacher after another would show up in my life. It was incredible, just the people that I got to mentor with and learn from. So
there's no real trigger. It's just an evolution, basically.
It was an evolution, and that's why it's kind of seamless. And I think earlier you were asking me, Sarita, about Covey and how my being in his life influenced his work. But to me, it's all kind of seamless. Like, he totally influences my capacity to do what I do. My son is my biggest teacher. I talk about all these great teachers, but my son, our son he was born with all this wisdom. It's just amazing how much I have learned from him. I can't even begin to, and then my mom, it's like, it's not like it's a linear progression. It's like you're a part of all of these people of your life. And so I feel like it's not me. Yeah. It's not him. It's not my mom. It's all of it. It's all of it.
It's universal.
It's universal.
It is universal. And in a way, I said that because, a lot of people ask me, well, how did you get here? And how did you do that? And I go, I don't know. I just keep kind of walking.
Yeah.
I go where my nose tells me to go.
Yeah.
And that has resulted, as you look back on our life, right? We can just go, wow, when you're in flow, you are just going down the river.
That's how we met.
That's how you and I met.
Yeah.
So
very weird circumstances, and just boom.
Yeah. And it is really trusting, that's when you start really tapping into the trust. It's not something that you have to practice.
Exactly.
Trust, right? It just absorbs your way. And
so I got some questions.
Yeah.
So Karen, are there highlights within your book that you'd like people to know? People who may be listening, highlights that you want to really kind of chapter by chapter or subject by subject, or is there anything like you really want to impart here so people I want to buy that book?
No, the book offers things from different, I think I tried to do it so that people of different orientations could each get what they wanted. And somebody doesn't have to read it beginning to end. They don't have to want to read all of it. But if you're into the science of the systems of the body, it goes through that. If you want the movement practices, it has that. And there's things about both from my mother and myself that are more of our approach or experience. It talks about the, yoga, and, gives you a sort of an essence of what that's all about, and also with Qigong. So whatever your interest and whatever works for you, it is a doorway for you, that's where to go. I would say the most important thing, Latham, to me personally, is at the very end of the book when we say, in the end, it's all about the heart. And I believe that sincerely. It's really about getting into the heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just hit Sarita in the heart.
Well, I mean, I started a heart-centered entertainment studio 10 years ago and had it trademarked because I wasn't quite sure people really understood the power of being in the heart. Mm-hmm. And, that's really what Latham and I have been doing together.
Yeah.
My mother and father were pure from the heart leaders. And so that is what I saw and felt. I can't describe it. Like, we could tear apart your book. But the reason I thought your book was so valuable is because in these times of serious transformation, division in the world, gaps in memory and everything, we've got everything kind of being thrown at us. And yet we have our heart-centeredness. Mm-hmm. We have the ability to tap into our own human technology. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're providing here. You're really inviting us into a doorway.
Yeah. I like the approach too. I like the fact that you don't have to read the whole book. You can find what you want in this book, this tome. You can find what you need and gravitate towards. I love that.
Yeah.
Because so many people that we've talked to in the past with books, and they're just like, you got to read this whole thing. It's a philosophy of life. And that's a tall order. That's a really tall order for a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, there's people that will fall asleep when they get to the science, and that's fine.
That is fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
No. Mm-mm.
It's funny that we talk about the heart too, because this is our last episode that we're about to publish. It was all about, homes, mega homes. We've all been involved in construction and design, and how people confuse two things. And that is a giant mansion that has no soul is not a home. It's a house. Mm-hmm. A small apartment in New York City that has everything that makes you a person and enhances you as a personality and it makes you comfortable. That's a home. Mm-hmm. But it could be 500 square feet.
It can be anything.
Yeah. It could be a closet. But there's a perceptive problem right now in that the common thing in the zeitgeist is too, or that type of zeitgeist is more, bigger, more luxury, more expensive. And these things are fleeting. As my old wine distribution partner, Tony Facel, old Swiss guy, said, the suit your bed in has no pockets. It's true. And you have to live by that because you're not taking anything with you. And this heart thing is very important. And it's to live in a fashion that is true to yourself. Mm-hmm. And to be kind to other people, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things, Sarita, that Covey would always say about you is that you have this gift of bringing people together and, just seeing them and seeing who someone is. And I really think that's it, that's how people find home in themselves. And when I get up to teach, and this is an evolution, I didn't always, have this, but I get up and I look out at all my students, and it's like each one of them, I feel like, thank you for just being you, because, each person is so amazing and so beautiful. And it's like there's one of the things I love most when I actually do an in-person class is my class at the end, they do the gesture of namaste, but they do it to each other. And it's so genuine to watch everyone go to everyone else in the room and just bow to them and really see the other person and acknowledge. And it's really palpable and it's really beautiful. And I think we should be doing a lot more of that in this
for sure.
world.
Yeah.
Remembering that, that connection that we have and the beauty within each person. It doesn't have to look the way we think it should look at all. It's just honor
I think there's no
that.
good messages. There is no normal. There just is.
Right.
Right? And on that note, let's get to people at home knowing where they can get your book. Again, give those addresses out slowly so that people can find you and buy your book.
Okay. The two addresses are insightwellnesscoaching.com.
Insightwellnesscoaching.com.
Yeah, that's my main business name. And then the other is seniorsinbalance.com.
Seniorsinbalance.com.
Yeah, and you'll find there a video, you find there the book, and like I said, for right now at the moment, till I get it ironed out, I know you can get it from Barnes & Noble.
Oh,
so on
there you
that
go.
link, press that link. Don't try Amazon.
There you go. And the title of the book again, please?
All About Balance.
All About Balance. And
It's from both myself and my mother, Shirley Dockstader.
nice. Anything else, Sarita?
The only thing I want to say is I have been known to find the finest gifts and solutions that are heart-centered. That's what I'm known for. And so I wanted to share Karen with this community here, with everybody, because she is, one of the very few sort of holistic resources that I think is going to be a valuable tool in the next coming years.
Agreed.
I really mean it.
There's a lot of healing that needs to happen right now.
I mean, we could just stop and heal for the next 7 years and not catch up. It would be the greatest gift to humanity to do that. It's an ROI on humanity.
Yeah.
And we can do it right now. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We just, each of us needs to
Yep.
do that within ourselves. Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you both.
Thank you, Karen.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And until next time, we'll be back here at Talks from the Essex Hotel. As always, this episode is brought to you by Garen Leatherworks or Galland Leather. I don't know why I get that.
on.
I know.
Gallon.
Kyle's such a nice guy too. Galland Leatherworks, and amazing handcrafted leatherworks wallets, card wallets, soon to be small purses, all handcrafted here in California in an amazing handcrafted fashion. Look for them at gallandleatherworks.com or galland.shop. That's GALLAND.shop. Karen, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thanks, Rita. See you next time.
Thanks, Latham. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you for listening to Talks from the Essex Hotel. We strive to bring you interesting and different guests every week. Please like and subscribe to hear more content from Talks from the Essex Hotel. Until next time, see you then. This production is brought to you by Crashing Boar Productions and taken at Madmana Studios in beautiful San Anselmo, California. For more information, reach out to us at Latham at madmanastudios.com. That's LATHAM at madmana, MADMANA studios.com. All rights reserved, 2026.